Hello everyone, welcome to TTV News, some latest events in the province, and now came into details. Ladies and gentlemen, at the question and answer sessions of the 8 sessions of the 10 Provincial People's Council, many delegates raised questions about limitations in labor export in the province today.
In the first 6 months of the year, in the province, only 42 workers went to work abroad with a fixed term, only reaching 40% of the plan. Explaining this issue, the leaders of the Department of Labor and Values and Social Affairs said that the reason is that employees have not oriented themselves in investing in training to improve the skills and learn foreign languages. Besides, because the labor market in recent years is mainly low-income countries, the working conditions are also not suitable, so it is not attractive to the workers. In addition, TayNin has no enterprises with the function of labor export. There is no unit capable of capturing information on the foreign labor market, and there is no orientation for training to prepare human resources for labor export in some potential markets. In the coming time, the province will strengthen orientation for vocational education institutions, soon promulgate support policies from the provincial budgets for those who go to work abroad, effectively implement the work of connecting labor supply demand, providing job counseling and instruction for returning laborers to have the job needs. And ladies and gentlemen, one of the outstanding activities of the meeting of the Provincial People's Council, which is watched by delegates and voters, is questioning and answering questions. Another group of issues about the civil judgment enforcement was also fiercely questioned by the delegates, because there were many cases of prolonged judgment execution causing frustration for the people. Reporting to the questioning sections, Mr. Võ Xuân Biên, Director of the Civil Judgment Execution Department of the province, said the results of judgment execution in the first 6 months of the year were also as follows. The number of jobs with conditions for execution, 11,735 jobs, equivalent to about 1,819 billion Vietnam dong, completed for 5,071 jobs, and the rate of completion of settlements reached for 43.21%, and the rate of money execution was only 21.97%. These ratios are all lower than the target assigned so far. But there were still cases that lasted for many years. Some cases lasted for more than 13 years. About giving these solutions to reduce the amount of judgment execution. Currently, there are more than 4,197 cases remaining. We have raised the issue in solving this outstanding case. The remaining sentence falls into the case where the executor makes mistakes or the sentence is difficult. The latter takes more time to do. The aviation industry has a roadmap for enforcers to have the conditions to settle the outstanding sentence. In fact, when verifying the conditions for judgment execution, enforcers usually only focus on verifying that the assets are mainly real estate. Actually, in civil judgment enforcement, real estate handling is more convenient, but dealing with movable property, if people do not cooperate, the executors will not be able to identify it. Real estate with many cases is no longer available. The police provided ownership of the property, but they sold it. Thus, according to the function sector, there is no mechanisms to completely prevent the dispersion of assets to avoid the obligation to execute judgment. However, the delegates inquire about the possibility of other inadequacies of a subsidiary nature. But when there is a big case, we focus on directing to achieve the target. From a point of view of direction is that when there is a sentence, we must do it. As for the remaining percentage, I don't remember clearly, only for about 20%. It must be according to financial regulations, not arbitrarily. And there are many other difficulties and inadequacies in the field of civil judgment enforcement that were raised by the delegates. Among the solutions proposed by the Civil Judgment Enforcement Department, there is still no breakthrough measures to solve the situation of a large number of outstanding cases, and their difficulties lead to a lot of frustration and a lot of bad public opinion. However, it is difficult to solve this problem in the short term. The Civil Judgment Execution Department said it will continue to devote on its efforts to speeding up the resolution of difficult and prolonged cases in the last 6 months of the year. And on the morning of July the 20th, the supervisory delegation of the 15th National Assembly, led by Mr. TayNinhTVToday, member of the Party Central Committee, standing member of the National Assembly, chairman of the Ethnic Council, worked with the leaders of the province on the implementation of national target programs in the province. Receiving and working with the delegation, there were Mr. Nguyễn Thanh Ngọc, Deputy Secretary, Provincial Party Committee, Chairman of Provincial People's Committee, and leaders of the departments, divisions, and branches, the members of Provincial National Target Program Steering Committee. Reporting to the working delegation, the chairman of People's Committee, Nguyễn Thanh Ngọc, said, after 2 years of implementation, the national target programs have been implemented seriously, responsibly, and effectively, mobilizing the active participation of the people, achieving practical results, initially contributing to sustainable poverty reduction. TayNin has the lowest poverty rate in the country. The lives of ethnic minorities have improved remarkably. The people's intellectual level, cultural and spiritual life are also raised. The awareness of ethnic minorities on the observance of the party guidelines and the state policies and the laws has been enhanced. Political security, social order and safety in ethnic minority areas and the rural areas are maintained and stabilized. Concluding the meeting, Mr. TayNinhTVToday acknowledged the efforts in directing and implementing 3 national target programs, inheritance and initiative in proposing implementation solutions suitable to locality, especially the disbursement rate of the program capital is quite high, over 90%. The province needs to continue to direct closely and specifically, review the contents within the competence to show the proposals and advantages in the localities, ensuring the uniformity in the implementation of 3 programs, to step up the inspection and supervision of the implementation in specific localities. The province continues to ensure enjoyment of social and ethnic policies for the people. On this occasion, the delegation also awarded for 1 billion Vietnam dong in funding from the Vietnam Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development to support the construction of an electronic library of the education and training sector.
During the visits to monitor the implementations of National Target Program in TayNinhTV Province, the National Assembly Supervisory Delegation visited and gave to policy families in Tân Phong Commune, Tân Bình districts.
On behalf of the delegation, Mr. TayNinhTVToday, member of the Standing Committee of the National Assembly, chairman of the Ethnic Council, sent health wishes and gifts to 14 wounded and 6 soldiers in the commune. On this occasion, the delegation also visited Mr. Nguyễn Hà Thanh, 6 soldiers at the 2/3 level, and the families of Mrs. Phùng Thị Đẹp, a household receiving financial support under the next program for the people with disability in the commune. And on the morning of July the 20th of 2023, in order to evaluate the Jericho work in the first 6 months of the year and implement the work in the last 6 months of 2023, the Ministry of Justice held an online conference to 63 provinces and cities across the country. Mr. Lê Thành Long, Minister of Justice, chaired the conference. Attending the conference at TayNinh Province Peace Connecting Point, Mr. Nguyễn Thành Lũy, Deputy Director of TayNinh Provincial Department of Justice. At the conference, delegates at the peace point of provinces and centrally run cities discussed areas such as construction work, disseminating, educating, and organizing law enforcement and civil judgment enforcement, improve the effectiveness and efficiency of law enforcement and law enforcement, avoiding the group and local interest in law enforcement for the law enforcement. Speaking at the conclusion of the conference, Mr. Lê Thành Long, Minister of Justice, suggested that in the last 6 months of the year, the sector should continue to innovate and be drastic in direction and administration, improve the effectiveness and efficiency of state management, tighten discipline, administrative disciplines, uphold the responsibility of the leaders, continue to invest resources, strengthen the application of information technology in management and administration also, strengthen inspection and examination, promptly detect and strictly handle violations, strengthen and promote communication, especially activities of the Ministry of Justice sector.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Social-Cultural Emulation Divisions had just had a conference to review the emulations and combination work in the first 6 months of 2023 and implement the key tasks of the last 6 months.
In the first 6 months of the year, based on assigned political tasks, each unit develops evaluation content, organized to launch evaluation movements, and implements the recommendation work close to the actual situation of the units. Many practical activities aim at major national holidays, including the contest to understand Ho Chi Minh's thoughts on patriotic evaluation and the profession of evaluation and commendation in 2023. At the same time, evaluation movements launched by the Prime Minister continue to implement effectively with the rich and diverse contents and thereby the appearance of advanced examples, creating the evaluation motivation in the coming time. At the conference, representatives of units in the bloc focus on discussing and evaluating the achieved results, pointing out limitations and proposing solutions in the coming time. At the same time, unanimously approved the plan to sponsor and support anchor new rural commune of Châu Thành district. And ladies and gentlemen, the A section of the Provincial People's Council completed on the proposed program contents and closed on morning of July 20 after days of urgent and seriously working. The meeting evaluated and decided on many important contents, issued many new policies in many fields, which were highly appreciated by the voters. The meeting also reviewed reports on the Provincial People's Committee, including the reports on the socio-economic development results in the first 6 months of the year and the key tasks in the last 6 months. The Provincial People's Committee analyzed the achieved results as well as the difficulties and challenges during the second half of 2023. I'm very pleased that despite the great influence of the world economy, the GDP of the province also increased by 4.07% compared to the plan, but it also ranked second in the region after Bình Phước province. The local budget revenue has also reached 4.52%, which is a good figure because we are being greatly affected by the world economy. In the agenda, the delegates has a serious discussion on the contents of the meeting. The discussion section had 100 opinions from 40 delegates to discuss the contents to be submitted to the meeting, which mainly focus on evaluating the implementation results and proposing solutions for the socio-economic development. The issues raised by the voters were discussed enthusiastically with the delegates with a high responsibility. We have been able to find solutions to overcome difficulties and limitations that we have not been able to do in the past 6 months, and gave suggestions on solutions and tasks for the last 6 months of the year. The voters are very excited with this. The section conducted a direct questions and answer section for 3 groups of hot issues in the fields of civil judgment enforcement, labor and employment, information and communication. And there were 19 delegates also who asked questions directly and were answered by the directors of departments and branches to clarify and accept responsibility. Departments and branches have met the questioning requirements set by the People's Council, especially in the fields of vocational training and education, which is a great concern of the people when dividing education flows. And at the A section of the Provincial People's Council meeting, the Provincial People's Council unanimously approved 24 important thematic resolutions. The new policies will affect many areas, from big issues such as deciding investment policies in important projects to practical issues in the field such as supporting the mass performing art teams. Many resolutions have been made that I really like the resolution to support the mass performing art teams. This will be the basis to attract the young people to perform the cultural activities to reduce the law violations. At the meeting, I request the Provincial People's Committee and relevant agencies to focus on directing, quickly concretize and implement the resolution of the Provincial People's Council, ensure the timeline is synchronism and efficiency, and soon bring the resolution into life. The Standing Committee of Provincial People's Council, the committees of the Provincial People's Council and the delegates of the Provincial People's Council, and also provincial social-political organizations are requested to strengthen supervision of the implementation of the resolutions. After the meeting, the Provincial People's Council hopes that the province voters will continue to monitor, coordinate, support, supervise and give suggestions for the Provincial People's Council and the Provincial People's Committee to complete their tasks, contributing to promoting the implementation of resolution into life.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for TTV News today. Thank you for joining with us and goodbye for now.